Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the Inventor Smart Book Club. This is August 2024. The year is moving on very quickly, hopefully with all the information within the app, National Inventor Club, these book clubs and the meet and greets and the Q&As and all kinds of activity that we have. I'm sorry, I'm shivering. I'm so cold. All the activity that we have going on, that you are keeping your ideas and your businesses and wherever you are in the invention process moving forward. And tonight we have Hal Shelton. He is a SCORE advisor, which we had a chance to connect through SCORE. The people there connected us up, and he's got some great information for us. Let's learn a little bit about business plans, pitch decks. What does all that mean? When do we need one? What are they? How are they useful to us? And how to actually create them. So, Hal, thank you for joining us tonight. We have a crew here. Whether they're watching in the app, we have a good amount of people in the app watching, and we have some that are participating on the Zoom. And then people can watch this anytime they want to get the information from you. So thank you for joining us, Hal. Maybe you can start off by giving us some information about yourself, who you are and where you're from.
Okay, thanks, Brian, and good evening, everybody. So my background covers many years, and it's in basically two segments. For many years, I was the CFO in the oil and gas industry, heading most of the major divisions of an oil and gas company. And then I left that and I joined a smaller uranium enrichment company, which was privately held, and we did an IPO. And I got to go to Wall Street and New York Stock Exchange and get on the balcony and ring the bell. And then I took a year off. I had never worked harder. I had a lot of fun, decided what to do in the next part of my life. And it really turned out to be three things going on simultaneously, though I didn't know it when I started this second gig. Started off, as Brian mentioned, as a SCORE volunteer. And we'll talk a little bit more at the end about various resources. But SCORE is a nonprofit associated with the SBA, providing free mentoring, education, guidance to entrepreneurs who are thinking about starting a business, actually starting, growing their business, and in a few cases, selling their business. And I'm sure all of you fit in that spectrum someplace, and we can address that. And I've been doing that for 18 years, probably helped over 2,000 entrepreneurs do those things. And then 5 years into that, I said, I need something else to do in addition. So I joined what was then an angel investing group, outside equity money. And over the course of 14 years, we've invested over $100 million in 80 companies, many of them cybersecurity companies. I'm basically located in Washington, D.C. area, and that is cyber heaven because of all the three-letter agencies are there. And then I said, well, how do I combine all my experiences? So I wrote a book. And then I wrote a second edition of the book. And so right now I'm doing all those three things simultaneously. So that's my background. I've lived throughout the East Coast of the United States, spent 4 years in London. I've had a pretty good career.
Excellent.
So let's start. And just in terms of introduction, Brian and I are brand new friends. And as he mentioned, we were connected on Saturday by a colleague we both know at the SCORE Association, and said, you guys should meet each other. And on Sunday, we had a call. And we talked about backgrounds and what's available. And on Monday, Brian said, you're on for Wednesday. So normally I'd have a big pitch deck and we'd go through all that, but didn't have time to do it. And beside, Brian said, I have to read a couple of paragraphs out of the book. And so I'll do that as well to keep him happy.
Thank you, Hal. Do you have, can you hold up your book to show us what it looks like? Because sometimes people judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
You got to just hold it a little closer because it's blurry. Uh-oh. Maybe hold it back. under your chin area, I think we'll do it. You have the blurry background, so we can't see it at all. Can't see
Okay.
it.
I think it was in the email that you sent out.
Yep.
Okay. And so there's a story there. Part of the business plan, my business plan, which talk about is who's going to buy my book? Who are my potential buyers? And I sussed out that they were going to buy it online. They weren't going to go to a bookstore, because I went to Barnes and Noble and I sat on the floor and I read all the business plan books, and there were none. And so they're going to go online. And I said, okay, I need something that will stand out, because all you get is the thumbnail and when you scroll down Amazon. So this was the first like business plan book that had lots of color. So that was thanks to my business plan.
We can't see the color right now, but everybody who is on here probably has seen the thumbnail or the email of his book.
I can handle that in a minute.
Are you gonna?
I can pull it up. Just
unblur?
give me a second.
Okay.
So, Hal, we have. I'm looking at the audience, and I'm looking online in the app, and I see that we have inventors and entrepreneurs at all different stages of their ideas. At some point or another, they're going to need at least some kind of business plan. Maybe it's more than just in their mind, but maybe it's on paper, maybe it's online, however they do it to figure out what the next steps are with their ideas. We're joined by Andy, who's our operations VP there, and Sean. She's also with us. She's the VP of Community. Samantha couldn't join us this evening, our also our community officer. So welcome everybody, and let's hear what Hal has to teach us tonight.
Okay. And so, Andy, if you could put up one slide I put together, and I just want to share it up front to tell you what is it I'm going to talk about, so you get a sense of where I'm going, and then at the end we'll do that. And if hopefully Brian or Andy can make this available for anybody who wants a copy of it. So we're going to talk about what is a business plan, have some references to where it is in the book. We're then going to talk about who is the business plan written for and what uses of it to make. Then we're going to go to what are the sections of a business plan, and really what people want to know is which ones are the most important and where should I spend most of my time. And then the fourth one is what are the secrets from the title of the book that you should keep in mind when writing the business plan? What are the good things that you should be doing? And then finally, the question is, okay, Hal, I understand all that, but I got a blank piece of paper in front of me or a blank Word document. How is it that I start filling it out? This is a very difficult task, and I got writer's block. And at the end, we'll go through some resources that you might want to contact.
Excellent. And what we'll do throughout our conversation with Hal, please feel free to ask questions along the way. We will be done just about 9 o'clock. So 45 minutes of real great information to keep us moving forward with our ideas. So that would be great,
Okay.
Hal.
Good. So, and either speed me up or slow me down.
Okay.
As appropriate. So the first section, we're going to talk about what is a business plan. Clearly, it's a document, okay? And you can find that in chapter, whatever it is, chapter 1. It's a business plan, it's a document, and someone says, tell me your business plan. Here it is. 5 pages or 30 pages. But really, it's much more than that. It's a structured process where you can test out your ideas to see, one, if the idea is feasible, and second, is it financially attractive. And because the failure rate of startups is so high, it's over 50%, it's good to go through a paper exercise just to see if this has any legs to it. If you want to devote your time and your bank account to it and do it on paper and see what it looks like, before you actually have to start.
Hal, you've been involved with venture capital and SCORE, which is mentoring services for businesses, startups. Why do you think that number is 50% that succeed and 50% that fail?
In fact, it's 52% fail in 5 years, and they don't talk about the other 48%, but I think some of them are just like marginal. And the reasons are varied. One is it was a side gig to begin with, and it really wasn't a full-time activity. Second, people didn't go through a business plan process. Three, they didn't have any money, and raising money is really, really hard. But the good ideas, well documented and well explained, do get funded. And it's a very competitive process. A combination of all those things.
Got it. We have a question that's in the chat already. You could decide when you feel like it's
No,
time
shoot it.
to answer. But Judy, how you doing, Judy? She's asking, what do you know about SBA business plans? So is what you're going to go over kind of aligned with that? And SBA, Small Business Administration.
Yeah. So the book is basically, so I'm a SCORE mentor. We're associated with the SBA. SBA doesn't do any mentoring. They send the people either to SCORE, the small business development centers, or the women business centers, and we do the mentoring. And what the book is about is how I advise clients who might have come via the SBA on how to write a business plan. So I've documented the pitch. Maybe, Judy, your question was another way is, can I find a template and just put my name on it and my business? The answer is that's not a good choice because it's not your business plan. And it doesn't really get to the details of what you're trying to do and doesn't differentiate you from everybody else. If everybody copies that, they're all the same. And you're not going to win if you're the same as everybody else.
Okay.
So if we didn't nail that, Judy, ask the question again. So again, it's a formal process. And if someone says, show me your business plan, you show it, they should ask you, tell me about the process you went through and the things that you learned about what your go-to-market strategy, what your staffing, what your hours of operation, and particularly for you inventors who might be thinking about, what's the word? Not selling your business, but licensing it and getting royalties.
Manufacturing, you're saying? So not to necessarily manufacture, but to license it to earn royalties, right?
Right. Or even on the manufacturer, you want to manufacture or do you want to assemble? Do you want to do it onshore or offshore? Kinds of things. It's just really, it has to be you. Because if you ever got up in front of a group and started spouting off and it didn't match what someone else had written. Now, ChatGPT is a new thing, and there might be some activities there. For those who have used it, it's important. You have to ask it many questions and you got to get it. And at the end of the day, you have to put it in your words. Okay. So that's what a business plan is both a document and it's a process, a really important process. The next part, the agenda was, who is it written for? There's about three things it's written for. One is yourself, one is a banker, and the other is a combination of vendors, new employees that you want to hire, board members or advisors you want to retain. But by far, the number one reason for writing a business plan is for yourself. You are the founder of the business. You are the CEO of the business, either formally or informally, if you haven't incorporated yet. And it is for yourself. It is your roadmap of what the future could be like under various scenarios. All the other uses are subsets of that and are different versions of the main version, which is for you. The banker will want to see a business plan if you're seeking a loan. Again, vendors, key employees, board members, advisors might want to know the direction of where the company is going. And while you could spout it off, they might want to see some written documentations. There's a fourth bullet there that says it is not directly used in seeking money from angels or VCs. And that's what Brian referred to earlier. They're very busy. They have very short attention spans, and they don't have the time or patience to read through a 20 or 30-page business plan. They want to get a sense real fast, is this something attractive for them? And so what you write is what's called an investor pitch deck. And you can Google that and find out different formats for it. It's 15 to 20-page PowerPoint presentation. It has pictures, it has graphics, and it has a lot of white space. And
Hal, I have a question. So some of us have, and most of us online tonight have product. Do we still make and put together a business plan for a product, or is it something more for brand where we plan on expanding the one product, or is it more for business service?
It is for all of those. So you have a product.
Mm-hmm.
Name a product. It's a medical device. Okay. Well, what problem is it solving? Who are the potential customers? How are you going to reach the customers? Who is the competition? What is your pricing philosophy? What are the tax implications? Where is it you're going to manufacture it? All those things. What's your staffing? Are you selling direct? Are you selling through distributors? Are you selling through agents? Are you licensing it? It goes on and on. So it applies to every business. And that's why there's no one template for every business plan.
And it's interesting, Hal, because there's a lot of people that I talk to that say, hey, Brian, can you help me? I have 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 units in my garage. What do I do now?
Yeah.
So starting off with having a business plan, whether, like Hal said on that list, for yourself or other possible ways to generate, to raise money, but not necessarily for seed money, but also just a guide for yourself, because it's almost like research and development to get yourself organized. And what do we do, Hal? As you're mentioning those things, we don't have the answers to them because we have a day job. This is a side hustle, like you said. And now you're kind of suggesting for us to do this business plan. How do we get these answers?
Okay. So a couple of responses. It's all a guess. It's a best guess. You have no history. Okay. And so you take a little bit with a grain of salt, but it's your best guess. And you don't have to have a business plan, but you're just at high risk. For the person now who has these 2,000 units in their garage, maybe they were in the house and the wife said, kick them out and get them in the garage or someplace else. And you spent money building those or acquiring those, and they're sitting there. And maybe they're rusting, or maybe they're getting out of date. And maybe you could have saved yourself some money if you went through a little paper exercise, and made a guess about what's the demand for this. One of the concerns, and I've seen this many places, particularly inventors, come up with a great idea, and it's solving their problem. It's not solving a customer problem. You might have heard the term value proposition. It's this term often used at SCORE. What customer problem are you solving uniquely that someone wants to buy? And you need to figure that out. Or maybe you just had a bucket list and it says, I'm going to invent something, I'm going to get a patent and something, and I'm happy, fine. But if you want to get to the market and you want to get paid for something that you're doing, you want to reduce your risk. And so I didn't answer your question directly. Maybe because you have full-time jobs, it takes longer. One of the things I've talked to a lot of folks do and suggest, a lot of college students looking for work at companies to enhance their resume. And they work for really cheap, if not free. You can get some of them and assign them tasks, do some of that research for you.
So, Hal, do you feel like business plans are like business cards? I mean, things are, is having a business plan kind of antiquated these days, or do you feel like it's still in very high demand? And is it the same 18 years ago when you started to what it is today?
Um, it is not antiquated, and the number one use of it, using your business card analogy, is it's for yourself. It might never leave your room. It might never leave your computer. It's for you. It's your roadmap. It's for you to convince yourself that this idea is viable and financially attractive.
And that's the point, is that it's for you. And that's what I loved about in your outline. It's for you. It's a roadmap. It's your research and development. It's the questions that you need to ask to be prepared before you decide to manufacture, or if you're going to license, to be able to have an understanding of what you may not necessarily have to go too deep into the weeds. Like if you were going to manufacture, some of those questions probably aren't relevant, but it's good for you to just understand where you're headed. And when you do speak to somebody in the industry, that you'll be able to have a better conversation with them.
Right. And maybe what you're getting at also is there's no one format for a business plan. So the two endpoints are, if you need to raise $500,000 from a bank for whatever purpose, you're going to have a 20 to 30 page business plan that's going to be half of it financial, because they want to know that you can repay the loan without a hassle. The other side is, if you are forming a consulting business, you're working from home, you have no employees, and you're self-funding, it could be 5 pages. And people have asked me, Hal, did you have a business plan for your book? And I most certainly did. It was 5 pages, 2-page executive summary where I had all my messages, 1 page about me, because in that, or consulting business or book, it's basically you're selling yourself and your experiences. 2 pages on go-to-market strategy. How am I going to get this thing out the door? And 1 page on financials. And that was all I needed.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Let's keep trekking along. It's interesting. I'm wondering if there's a way, I'm not sure if maybe Andy can help, but to actually put up a sample of a business plan so people can look, besides just hearing what you're saying. I mean, people can visualize these sections of words, but we'll get there.
Okay. The next topic I want to talk about are the business plan sections. And Andy, if you could put that back up. That's number 3. I've listed here 8. And if you did research, you'd find people list 6 to 10. But it's all the same content. It just shows up in, different places and in different sorts. And in the book, I spend about 100 pages going through each one of these. And at the end of every chapter in the book, there's a worksheet where you fill out your information relative to that topic. I want to just concentrate the ones on the left, which they're all important. And you would be remiss not having something about all of them. But the ones on the left, executive summary, product and services, go-to-market strategy, and financials, I think are the most important, and particularly they differentiate your plan from other plans. The executive summary is written last because it is a summary of all that comes. And it's there where you hone the messages. And it almost has to be a standalone document. This would be the classic elevator pitch. This is the problem I'm solving. This is my solution. This is why it's important. And this is why I'll be successful. And after you hear this, you are so excited, you want to hear more. Okay. And you want to read the rest of the business plan or call me up and talk to me. So it's a marketing activity. Clearly, you have products or services, whatever your business is, you have to describe what it is, how it works. For me personally, the next section is the most important, the go-to-market strategy. With, doing this for 18 years at SCORE and on my own and working with the startup companies, and I serve on 4 boards of directors. The hardest thing for a startup company is to get customers. And a customer in your case could be find someone who wants to license it. That's going to be your customer. Or it could be actually people who are using it. And this gets everything from, can you identify who your target audience is? Just make believe you're down the street corner, there's a light, there's 10 people there waiting with you for the light to change. Can you look around and in your mind say, that's one of my customers, that's a customer, that's not a customer? Because you know enough about their demographics, their psychographics, everything to say, this will be my customer. And the sharper you can make that, the easier job you will then have finding those customers and then reaching out to them and make your pitch.
There's
You
a
need
few
to,
people, there's a few people on with us tonight, Hal. Like Sean, for example, she came up with a cover for when people are outdoors and to protect the utensils from getting flies and
Yep.
others. So she knows who her audience is. There's Mike on here who has something for pick like for therapy balls for different types of patients, and he knows who his audience is. So it's really important to know and to identify. Sometimes, though, how people will come up with an idea that's specifically for something they were thinking about, but it might not necessarily be the biggest audience. So maybe by the time we kind of go through it, it might be the 3rd or 4th on the list, but they had a bigger opportunity for number 1 and number 2. So how far do you kind of make that specific or broad?
um, I'm not sure I get the gist of it. Everybody has different financial goals. And so, if you're looking to make $1 million, you need a market size of a certain amount. If this is a side gig and you're doing it on weekends and evenings, and you're happy with 30K, that's a different size market.
Okay, but to identify them. So if I have something specifically for, let's say, for people who are in hospital care, but that same product can also be for the mass market to use, then I'm just saying to identify which markets are your biggest windows of opportunity in what order to be able to make that bigger number up.
Um, Intuitively, you would say, I'm going to start with the biggest market, but that might not be the correct answer. Sometimes you need to get some what they call traction. You need to make some sales. You need to get referrals. You need to understand, you need to work out all the kinks in the manufacturing of it. And sometimes you might want to start in a smaller market and grow to the bigger market with that experience behind you.
Okay. All right. Sean is asking, what was some of your specific go-to-market strategies?
My market strategies, number one was I was going to use Amazon. I was not going to do any of the work myself of taking orders, shipping out things, getting returns, and so forth. So Amazon, number one. If you go to then Amazon, there's like 10 million books on Amazon. So people are not going to find it organically. So I needed to find hosts, bloggers in particular, who had my audience, who had entrepreneurs in a certain age group, um, who were interested in this. And I found many of you have heard of Constant Contact. a big email company. And back a couple of years, they were really had a good blog post on topics of interest to small business. And I wrote like 20 blogs for them. It was free content, but I got the bottom of each one. I had my name, I had the book, I had the Amazon link. And so that, and then I found other blogs, and I used blogging in particular. I then also had a media strategy and if you go to my website, you will see where I've been in the New York Times, and I've been in the Washington Post and Wall Street Journal, just trying to get name recognition because people aren't going to find it on their own.
So you would do the same with a product.
Yes.
Okay.
And,
There's
and
another.
let me just tie the knot. The better you can describe who your audience is, then you can say, where do they hang out? Okay. What do they read? Where do they get new ideas from? Where do they understand new products? And then because you got to be in their face. You got to be there. And maybe they read popular electronics or popular this or read this blog or this newspaper because that's where you have to be.
Understood. Nadina, I believe that's how you say your name. You asked how long the licensing process on inventions typically is. This topic is kind of setting up for potentially manufacturing a licensing, but what you're asking is not a textbook straight answer. It could be any, like if I'm representing a product and showing it to a company, they can be into it immediately. It might take some time to manufacture and to work with the factories and everything else, and then work with the buyers and the planograms of when it's being delivered to a store. So you're asking how long maybe it takes till you start to earn royalties, possibly. It could be a year. There's companies that you can license to that could start manufacturing immediately. So there's no textbook answer. It depends on the company, depends on the person who you're talking to, and it's a little bit more just kind of depending on those factors before you just. But it's not a straight answer. Okay, not that helps, but that's what it is. You can, I can license a product immediately, and some will say, it's going to be out in 3 months, 6 months, a year, or come back to me in 6 months. So it's all relative to who it is that you pitch.
And Brian, maybe there's a tag to that. How much credibility, traction do you need in your product before someone's willing to entertain serious licensing discussion?
Yeah. It's interesting because some companies would prefer that you don't have it in the market at all because they want to be the first ones to introduce it to the market. And others are, tell me your sales. Is it something that you kind of tested out so I don't have to? Did you already do the CAD files? Do you already have tooling for it? So again, every company, every product, every person you talk to is different. There's no straight answer.
Okay. So just to go down that list, we're number 3, the go-to-market strategy. And said to me, that's the most important. And in my 5-page business plan, it was 2 pages. 40% of it was just on that topic.
Okay.
Because it's just so critical. And the last section is financials. And it could be straightforward, very simple. It could be a big Excel spreadsheets. Depends where you are in your journey. The closer you get to raising money, the more detail it will be. But if you're starting out, it could be simplified. Often I get called in with SCORE clients and say, Hal, I'm having a hard time writing the financials. And I understand most people, they're either marketers, they're product developers, they're inventors. They shied away from every finance class they could take at school, and then they really don't like it. And they say, okay, I'm stuck. And we talk about it, and we find out the reason they're stuck is because they haven't identified who the audience is. They haven't identified their sales. They haven't identified all the things that lead into writing a financials. And so the executive summary comes first because it's everything that follows. The finance section is usually last because it summarizes all the things that came before it in dollars and cents terms.
Hal, I have a question. There's many times where people start a pitch off, and I know this is about business plans, but a pitch telling us that this market that I'm getting involved with is a $5 billion industry. When you get those kind of call outs like that, what's your how do you feel about it?
Um, well, first of all, I look at their references. If this is a number that they made up, I dismiss it. But if they reference credible resources where they got that information from, and back to your question half hour ago about research, that's going to have more credibility.
Okay, so if I'm saying and people kind of do this math, okay, so there's a $5 billion industry, and if I just get a fraction of a fraction, that's still going to be $100 million.
No, then I kick them out the door because it's too easy to say a half of 1% or a 1%. The top-down approach, I'm going to say, okay, tell me your go-to-market strategy. What are all the things you're going to do? How much money are you going to spend? How much time are you going to take? And what's going to be the results of the 10 things you're going to do to get customers? And you got to build it from the bottom up.
So you're saying to kind of justify if I'm doing a half a percent of whatever it is, the go-to market strategy is really going to roll up to that number. That's
Yeah.
how I'm going to prove it to you.
Yes.
Okay.
And we know from just experience, not all the things that you put in your market strategy are going to work. That's why you need 10 or 8 or whatever, some number. Half of them are going to fail. Okay. And so you have enough that keep going. Some will work, but you don't know in advance which ones.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And
Let's keep
similar,
moving on.
what's your go-to-market strategy? I'm going to use social media. Well, that's not good enough. Which social media? Where is it that your customers hang out? Which social media do they use? Are they Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn? Because you don't have the time to do them all.
Understood.
Okay. Enough haranguing on that. Let me do section 4 on time here. What are some of the smart things to consider when you're writing your business plan? And I've listed a couple here. Number 1 is know your audience, who you're writing it for. When you're writing it for yourself, it can be in any format. It can be whatever you want to be. But as soon as you get beyond yourself, you need to put it in a style, in a language that the user will make the decisions that you want them to make. So, for example, I get questions, oh, and you sort of asked it in a roundabout way, Brian. These days, everybody's using videos. I'm going to put together a video business plan. Okay, but if you're applying to a bank and the loan officer has 15 applications on her desk and yours is the video, she ain't going to look at it. It's just out of her norm. She has to do something different. So you got to find out who's the user, what are they used to, and help that person make the decisions that you want them to make. So know your audience. Very, very important. The next one I put second here, but it's really number 1. You got to focus on solving a customer problem, not your problem or something that you discovered and you think it would be great. And if everybody woke up tomorrow, they would understand it's great. Only if you're Steve Jobs could you do that. Most of us got to find out a customer problem. And you can look up, there is a technical term called customer discovery, and that helps, it's a methodology that helps you figure out what those customers or problems are by interfacing with potential customers.
Most of us, Hal, we're coming up with ideas that are problems for us that it starts off with. And it could be anywhere when you're waking up all the way to all the activity in your day. There's something that's going on that you feel maybe that you could do better or you don't see being done. And that's where you identify the problem. So we're all on here. We're probably all problem solvers because we had something that we came up with. And this is an important part, whether, again, you're licensing or manufacturing, to identify this section especially is important to plan and to think about before you start talking about it to others.
Yeah. And that's a good lead in talking to others. Being a founder, being an entrepreneur, being an inventor can be a very lonely business, a lonely business activity. And so I would advise you to surround yourself with what I call trusted advisors, people that you know, people who care about you, people who want to help, that you can bounce your ideas among. Very hard to know it all. We've covered a lot of different skill sets. We've done marketing, finance, production, legal, da, da, da. And it's hard for one person to know it all. So surround yourself with those people to help you. I have found that family members are not good at this. Either they won't be direct or they'll be very dismissive. And so, yes, you got to include your family, but it's better to have other outside people. Next one is ensure information consistency in a business plan. Many times I see in the sales section, we're going to sell all 2,000 units out of our garage, and we're going to make all this money. And then I see in the financial section, oh, I need to borrow or I need to raise $500,000. Well, the two are not consistent, and that will get called out very, very quickly.
Al, you know what? When I have a chance to look at business plans quite often, and people are looking to manufacture, start their own business, and they show me business plans, 2 million, 1.5 million, 5 million. I wouldn't even know how, like, when I see the product, I'm like, I could do this probably for 20, 30,000. And they're doing all this other stuff for manufacturing, even not even to, tell me how an investor feels when they see those kind of numbers and they know and have experience manufacturing.
It will be damaging to the credibility of the presenter.
Is it important for us before we put that in and actually present a business plan to get some numbers, to get some quotes, to know where we stand?
Oh, absolutely. It happens all the time. You call up vendors and say, "I'm thinking about this. What are your prices?" A lot of them are listed on their websites. Yes, you need to have that kind of information. Okay. The last part is the last of that section is develop powerful messages. You can have a great product, but you got to sell it, or you got to sell it to a licensor or something. Building the better mousetrap and thinking people will come to your door is not a winning strategy. So you need to have your elevator pitch down cold, and you need to practice it.
There's many people that say, my product is going to be successful. You mentioned, I'm going to have a website and everybody's going to come to my website, or my video is going to go viral. It's more than that. And that's why this planning is really important, to just, whether it's for yourself or for somebody else, but mostly for yourself. And that's the one lesson that I can appreciate from this, Hal.
Good. The next section is, I would call it the writer's block. How do I start writing a business plan with a blank piece of paper? I think it was Judy from the beginning said, you can go find some general templates at the score.org website. There are going to be templates for business plans. You can see what fits for you. Another approach is, I would say, start small. think about the onion, and people always say for root causes, peel the onion. Here we want to grow the onion layer by layer. So, page one is just sit down and write on the page using those 8 categories of business plan sections, whatever comes out of your head. And there's going to be few numbers, lots of words, and just fill up 2 pages. Put it down, take a walk around the block, do something, come back a week later, and then say, okay, let me take each one of those sections that might have a sentence or 2 and see if I can make a paragraph. And I'm going to have to do some research. I'm going to have to dig in a little bit, put it down, walk around the block, come back a week later, and then expand it to a page for each one. And if you continually grow and expand, it's a much easier way to come up with a business plan.
Look, Hal, many of us as inventors, when we're coming up with our idea, we're very excited. We're emotionally excited. We're attached. It's our baby. Nobody can tell us anything different that this is going to be the winner. And all this information that you're asking us to put together could be overwhelming. And we're not necessarily focused on this part of the business. And when I'm saying that, the point of this is when you're coming up with an idea, you're in business and you're going to be putting your time, money, energy, effort into this idea. So why not take a little bit? I know it's exciting to get to steps 6, 7, and 8, 9, and 10, but this first step of doing your due diligence and research, even before you make prototypes and do different things, just to understand, or maybe you can do the prototype first if it's not too much, but just to understand what it is that you're getting yourself into, I think is really a strong message here.
Yeah. And there's another approach. Some people say, I really have no interest in running a company. I don't like it. I don't want to do all this thing. I love inventing things. I love creating things. And it could be manufactured products. It could be advertising. It could be a lot of things. And so advice to them is, find yourself a partner. You can be the chief technology officer or some title, and you can be in charge of the things that you love to do, and let someone else run the business for you. I mean, obviously, you're going to have to give them some piece of the business, but you might be happier.
Well, what you've gone over is more heavier for somebody that's going into business manufacturing for themselves. So from my experience licensing and some other people on our session here, if you're going to license it, like you're saying, I don't know about all this manufacturing stuff and everything else and the business plans. It's a lot for me. So what I may do is I have this idea. I've done my due diligence to a certain point, right? I understand that there's a need for this. I have the audience that could be the potential. I'm going to make a prototype. I'm going to protect it so I'm at least patent pending. And then I'm going to start to show it around to different companies and see if my product aligns with their existing product line, where they would manufacture it, they would distribute it, and I would earn a royalty from it. And I don't have to do anything else, but just kind of give it to them. Some people are into more activity together, but for the most part, that's what they do for a living. They have their own business plan and they've been running the business, and you're kind of renting the rights to your intellectual property to them. So if this is heavy for you and putting that together and raising, and it's maybe out of your league, then you still have some options for that licensing. But not every product, in my opinion, is licensable. So even though your idea is great and you're showing it around and they say no, it doesn't mean your idea sucks or whoever's showing it sucks. It just means that it's not exactly for them, or it might not be at the right time. So do you stop or do you consider manufacturing? And this is where having a business plan comes in to kind of put all that outline together, like Hal's proposing, to be able to have you see it from this view and then to make better decisions along the way.
Yeah, good. Let me just list one thing here at the end, resources. So there are three organizations that are associated, Andy, it's not on that page, associated with the SBA. And they're all what we call resource partners, and they all do mentoring, and they all have websites, and they all do webcasts and templates and all kinds of stuff. So one is the SCORE Association at score.org. That's national, and you can go there. Another one is what is called the Small Business Development Centers. And you need to look up the one, if you just search them and find the one in your area. And those are the two largest ones. And the third is called the Women's Business Centers. And there may be 10 or 12 of those sprinkled around the United States.
Excellent. We actually have Small Business Development Center on our National Inventor Club meetings every month, practically. We also have SCORE. We have Candace or Bridget come on and give some tips and advice, and also where to find them. So Hal, you're part of SCORE, and being able to have these resources for free is a great start for us to guide us. So we appreciate that.
I see a note here from Alex, who mentioned that he has talked to some SCORE mentors, and they were nice folks, but they didn't understand what his business. And so SCORE now has a filter where you can search using filters all 10,000 SCORE volunteers, and you can find one who you like, and you can request that person to be your mentor. And now that everything is virtual, it doesn't matter where you're located or where they're located. So I'd try that.
Mar P asked, what was the suggested business page to visit? That was a little bit earlier, Hal.
What was suggested business?
Mar, if you're on, if you want to just
I'm not
explain
sure what that means.
Yeah, if you want to ask it a different way. Was it your page? Possibly. Okay. All right. Any other questions for Hal? Let's see if we can wrap this up on time. But any final words of wisdom for us, Hal? There are inventors and entrepreneurs at all stages of their ideas here. You've seen it from start to finish, and being an investor out there. Maybe you can give us some final words of wisdom. And Alex is asking what the name of the book is also, so we can end with that.
Okay. Well, I have that. Okay, Andy, you can show that up again. The Secrets to Writing a Successful Business Plan, available on Amazon. In terms of words of wisdom, I go back to that page where I had the various good things to do. It's as you mentioned, Brian, it's an exciting time. You're excited. You want to keep your enthusiasm up because that gets you up in the morning to keep working hard at it. You got to have a little bit of a thick skin because there's a lot of turn downs or people who don't respond. Surround yourself with people who you trust, who will give you good advice, and pace yourself. You know, if you have a full-time job, you're not going to get it done in a week or a month. And you can pace yourself and do it in the time that you have.
Thank you, Hal. And one more question here, just from your kind of journey of looking at products and services, what are some of your favorite that you've had a chance to see? Maybe what's your favorite invention? Maybe a business that you're involved with?
So I'll give you two very sort of different. They're both software. One is a cybersecurity company that I'm advising that's works through, it caters to smaller mid-sized companies, but through what they call MSPs, the intermediary, and that was their marketing strategy. And they figured out who their customers were. And they've developed a product that was just so easy to use and easy for them to resell to their customers. It was very smooth. And the other one where I'm on the board of again, it's software, but very different, and there's a more of a mission to it. They help state, local, county governments and tribal organizations and big nonprofits identify grants, federal grants, which is now like 25 to 30% of all state budgets, and then measure the success of the spending against those grants. On the East Coast, we recall Hurricane Sandy. Prior to that, the federal government just gave out a lot of money, and then they got criticized. How do you spend it? And they didn't know. And so this company helps organizations roll up all that information so they can satisfy the grantors. So there's a lot of mission associated with that.
Joe, did you want to ask your question?
What are a few of the hottest business or invention ideas that are cooking right now that get a lot of investor attention?
Okay. The biggest ideas these days, and it changes every 6 months or so, is anything associated with AI or AI use in a product or service. Something involved with what we call health tech, in serving populations, underserved populations, doing it more efficiently and expanding access. Those are two big areas right now that get investor interest.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Hal.
Thank you. All right. Well, let's wrap this up on time. Hal Shelton, thank you so much for joining us. And you can check out his book, The Secrets to Writing a Successful Business Plan. And it's available on Amazon. You'll see the links in the chat. And we will continue to post it in the app. So if you wanted to take a look at it after this event, that would be great. On next Wednesday, we have National Inventor Club. We have a guest speaker who was a former USPTO employee, where many of us went last year to the USPTO for our Inventor Day. We're going to do it again this year in November. But Sean, if you remember this, I think you were there. He would, let's say, like if it was Louis Vuitton in another country that was making Louis Vuitton bags, you see pictures of him with the SWAT team taking them down, protecting our intellectual property. So thinking about what you have and how to protect it and how to increase the asset value of your intellectual property is what we're going to be going over. And we'll probably have people from SCORE and SBDC, Small Business Development Center, to join us in the intros of that meeting. So please join us next Wednesday, August 28th at 8 p.m. in the app and streaming live on all social media. Thank you so much, Hal. We appreciate it. How do we keep in touch with you? If you can give us your website one more time.
The website is secrets to writing a successful business plan.com.
Excellent. And you're a SCORE mentor. So if we did want to ask you for help with writing a business plan, are you available for that?
Yes, you would go to score.org. You would fill out, I want to mentor, and put my name in.
Okay. Thank you for being available for us. We appreciate that.
Okay. Thanks, Brian.
Okay.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, everybody. See you again.
Thanks,
See you
everyone.
again soon. And keep active in the app. We'll see you in the app. We can continue this conversation.
Thank you, Hal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another
You're
great
great, Hal.
meeting.
Thank you. Brian.
Thank you so much.
Everyone.
Well, I followed you on LinkedIn. I hope you follow me back.
Okay.